Hey guys, this is the first video in Project Sardor video series that builds up to a final project which is based on audio recognition. So this is mainly an introduction to audio in Julia, which sets up the building blocks for the next videos because it gets complicated pretty fast. So I wanted to make a first video that introduces audio and working with audio in Julia. So let's start with package imports that I'm doing and explain what they do. So Wave using Wave. So what Wave is used for is to work with the Wave files, and it provides several important functions that I use is Wave read, Wave write, Wave append, and Wave play. And then we have port audio, which provides us with accessibility of input and output devices, so like the built-in microphone and the speakers. And sample signals provides helps us to work with audio port audio, and libsyn file allows us to save those audio inputs to files other than Wave, also Wave, but it provides a much more many more options. And plots is used in this particular Pluto notebook for heat maps, spectrograms, and other wave plots. Pluto UI is mainly used for interactivity related purposes, like the sliders that I will be showing you sometime later. And DSP is used for spectrograms that I'll be showing up in this, and it also provides several other algorithms that are essential to signal processing. And then we have Unicode plots, which helps us to plot simple graphs mainly, and it's much lighter than plot, so I use it. And then we have PyCall, which allows us to access Python packages from Julia side, because sometimes the packages are for a particular thing aren't available in Julia, so I use Python for that too. And Glob is used to create like a list of files from a data set. So I'll explain it later why I'm using Glob. It's an important package that I quite like from Python and Julia both. So what's the similarity between sine wave and sound in air? So sound in air is a longitudinal wave which has high density regions, high density of particles, and low density of particles, which create sound on the eardrum basically. So it if you can see, there is a similarity in sine wave and longitudinal wave. What we can do is we can use it as an analogy to for the high density region as being the crest and the low density regions being the troughs. So sinusoidal waves that has several parameters that help us work with them. Is one of them is the amplitude, which specifies the pitch, and then we have the frequency and the time period. Frequency specifies the number of cycles per second in a region, in a second basically, not a region. Then we have the phase angle, which specifies where the wave actually starts from. We can use wave read to read a wave file, and what it provides us with is the audio data, the sample rate, the encoding bits, and the wave chunks. So the things that are most important to us are the audio data and the sample rate. Those can be used to play that sound. So yeah, we can read it, then we can provide the audio data and sample rate, and then we can use those variables to play that audio. Okay, let's see an example of a wave. First, we have to specify the t1, which the time on the x-axis. So it will be a range which will specify for which we will calculate the samples from the y cos expression, a cos 2 pi ft and plus the phi. So what we do here is specify the range collection, and then use it to calculate the y values, these values mainly, as you can see in them, and then we plot that graph. So what this one does is when I change these values, these parameters are affected and this plot is affected. So when I change the amplitude, you will see that it changes the pitch, the maximum value a sine wave will have. As you can see, the voice will also, the pitch will increase and decrease. And if I change the phase, it's in radians by the way. So if I change the phase, it will change where the wave actually starts. Okay. Then we have the frequency, which specifies the number of crests and troughs in a region in a small time period. As you can see, this changes the behavior of the wave. Then we have the sample rate, which specifies the number of samples in a time period. So if I increase the samples, and it will increase the number of samples in this particular range, but it will not be visible in this. But if I increase the samples, it will increase its quality. It will be more close to an analog signal if I keep on increasing it, because analog is continuous, but digital signal is relatively based on samples. Is based on samples. Yeah, that's the difference. Moving on. So there is also another more important thing here, that we are using this dot function. What it does is it broadcasts over this whole range. First, what it does is, this is a range, and we defined the initial value, final value, and the steps. And then when this y cos is computed, these values are collected. So let me show you. So these values are basically collected, and it becomes a vector of arrays which has different values from minus 0.002 to 0.002. So and then what happens is, what we do is we compute the value of this expression over all those values if I use this particular dot. So it's like basically broadcasting it over the whole array of T1. So this is important. Next, moving on to the next part is writing an audio. Suppose we have an audio, we have the audio data, and then we have its T1 data. What we want to do is sometimes save that particular audio. What we can do is use wavewrite and save it into a wave file. We can also use libsend file, which can be used to saving in different types of formats, but I'll be using wavewrite only for this version. We have to specify the audio data, then the name, and in the keyword arguments we can specify the sample rate. Moving on to the next part, sometimes what happens is we want to append to a file rather than completely change it. So like we have a audio file, then we want to add to the back of it. We can use wave append. It's mainly useful when you want to add silence. Suppose like there is an array, audio array, which is like let's say 15,000 samples, and it's like 0.8 second something, and you want to make it 1 second. So to make it a 1 second thing, and it's still at 0.8. So what we can do is add append, make add silence by adding zeros of 1,000 samples, which will make it 1 second audio. And we can add those zeros in the back using wave append, or else we can use use vcat, is shown here. So for this part, first we can append to the audio. That's one thing. The second thing we can do is we can read the audio, create zeros based upon that audio's length. Then we can do is add to that audio data. So let's see the end of it. It's full of zeros, and we can hold that data here. So in that, it's just going to write it. In this, we can hold the data as a variable. Next, what we can do is read a wave file and play it basically. Say hi to Port Audio. Port Audio is an open source computer library for audio playback and recording written in C. Port Audio is a wrapper to use the API in Julia, and what it does is mainly help us to access output and input and output devices that are available in the system, and it's an API, and portaudio.jl allows us to access that API. So first what we can do is we want to find the devices so that we can open up a stream. So let's see the devices that are available in the system that can be used for input and output. So there are several options, Intel PCH, HDMI 1 and HDMI 2, and default one. There are several others also. So we are interested in default one, which is our default built-in microphone. And what we can do is open up a stream which has particular number of channels, input channels, and we can specify the output channels. Okay, so we specify the stream source, then we specify the channels, and then we specify the output channels. So we can change it to 2. Then we will receive a stereo audio, which is two two channels, and the sample rate will be 4400. And next what we can do is read from the stream for 5 seconds, and it will return a sample buff, which is part of sample signals based structure, which allows us to hold audio. Then we can access the data available in it, and then what this part does is convert it to from a matrix to a vector. Now moving on to the next part, length.buff is a length of the buff is useful sometimes to add noise or silence in the back, because sometimes okay, comfortable. Okay, so the length buff can be used. Okay, so here we have the buff, which is the audio data. We know the sample rate. And sometimes what we want to do is find the length of that audio data and add to the back of it. It may be noise, or it may be just zeros to add silence. So we can find that length of that buffer using length function. Then we have to divide it by, let's say, the sample rate to find the duration of that particular thing. So it's 5 seconds of data, as can be seen from here. We also have to close the stream, else it will lead to a lot of data storage, and yeah, it will become unnecessarily the notebook will become unnecessarily heavy, so we have to close the stream also. Then what we can do is play the buff.
Yeah,
It will play
this
5 seconds
will
of audio.
repeat, I guess.
Then what we can do is write that audio, as I've told before also. We have to specify the audio data, the file name, then we have to specify the sample rate, then we can specify the n bits, which specify how many bits are to be used to encode a single sample. And then we can specify the compression also. I use compression only started using compression, the specific PCM one, because the Python packages I was using didn't work with the defaults. So next thing that we can do is, it's an important thing, is to be able to plot those wave files that we have. Uh, so in the y-axis we plot the amplitude, the final output of the expression sine 2 pi ft into amplitude, and on the x-axis will be the time. So as we can see, it's plotted well here. I'm using plots.jl, and in this part we are specifying the x-axis, and first we have to specify the initial point, and then we have to specify the end point and the steps, and then we have to just add in the audio data, and then we can add x label, y labels, all that sort of stuff. It's pretty extensible, so you should check it out. Plots.jl. I mainly use GLMakey, but for Pluto notebooks I found this plots.jl to be better. So moving on to the next thing, spectrogram is like spectrogram is a visual way of representing signal strength or loudness of signal over time at various frequency present in a particular waveform. So what it means is, we have a time, like time period, and in that time period we have audio. We want, when there is an audio activity, there will be multiple frequencies, and in all those frequencies there will be different strengths. So it helps us to identify those uh, different strength of frequencies and the different frequencies. So it mainly plots, let's see. So there are regions of major audio here, here, and here. So you will be able to see different major activities here, here, and here, and specifies the frequencies and their strengths. So the more brighter the color is, the more density of that frequency is there. So we can use a heat map and specify the time on the x-axis, specify the frequency on the y-axis, and specifies the power of the strength, power of frequencies on the colors map. So now moving on to the next part is getting access to real-time inputs, audio inputs. First is using port audio, and second is using JavaScript. JavaScript one will be used in something like Pluto notebooks only, but I'll keep it here because it's relatively much faster than port audio one that I have here. But let's see. So what I do here is I have made a clock. So what it does is ping this variable at interval of 1 second each, and when because Pluto is reactive, so what it does is it triggers this whole cell and updates this based upon the input. So what happens is, after every 1 second this cell is run, and a stream is opened from port audio, and 2 seconds of data is read, and then we close the stream, and then we make a spectrogram of it, change the global variable a, which is below, which is the spectrogram of the audio that has been received, and then we plot the wave plot. So this plot is this one, and this one that we have changed is this one. So let's run it. So it will change the audio based upon the input, and the spectrogram will also change. Let me close this right now real quick. Yeah, as you can see, the whole spectrograms and wave plots are changing in real time. Yeah, it's slightly slow, but it's workable. It's pretty cool actually. I'm surprised how cool it is. I can look at it all day. Let's stop it. Okay. Moving on to the next part. Here we have another option. Okay, let's run this again. It's using JavaScript, and it wasn't made by me. It was made by Elihu Garrett, and I'll link to his work below in the description section. And let's run it. Hide this input, and as you can see, here we have the audio input. It's real time. It's much faster than what I have in Port Audio, and yeah, very impressive actually. Moving on to the next part, PyCol is an important package in Julia that allows us to access Python packages from Julia's side and allows interactivity. And so what it helps us with is, suppose there is not a particular package in Julia, right, not available in Julia because Julia is relatively younger than Python. So what I can do is access those Python packages, Python functions, specific functions from Julia while I'm working on a system or on a project. So my main use case was I couldn't find an audio activity detector in Julia, so I used Python for that particular segment uh, written in Python only. So there are mainly three ways of using PyCol that I've been using. Is first, you can create a pointer or let's say cursor to that particular Python package and then use it mainly. So suppose we can import a Python package by using PyPort, then we can use it as a cursor and access those functions that are available in it. And then, yeah, compute it like a normal thing, like you would do in Julia. Then there is other way, you can code in Python only, then interact with that Python code from Julia side. So what we can do is create these strings like these and code in them in Python and access those Python functions from Julia inside Julia, outside of those Python strings using a syntax like this. So what I can do is also add more values, more different data types depending on the arguments. So this works also. Let's run it. Yeah. Moving on to the next part is what I can do is create a way between Julian functions and Python functions. So I can write in Python. Then what I can do is assign that Python function to a Julian cursor mainly, as I see it, and then use that cursor to access that Python function. So I don't need this part right now to run this function. It becomes more convenient. Last but not least, I wanted to introduce glob.jl, which is similar to glob package in Python, and it allows us to find files that follow a pattern that has been specified in the input. So it is useful when creating the file list for a data set, for either dataset creation or the training purposes. I mean, in that we would have to do read those files. So this can be useful then, and it can be explored at the GitHub of VT Jinesh. And yeah, that's about it for this video. In the next video, I'll be exploring noise reduction, noise creation, filters, and voice activity detector. And yeah, that's about it for this video. Bye bye, take care, and this is the end of the year. And yeah, hope you have a great next year. Bye bye.